As we transition to the new normal, we have left others behind. We need to reimagine and redesign our educational system. With the collective effort of schools, sponsors, and Tagpros learning management system, and core of passionate teachers, we can deliver free education and champion the cause of our students. Together, we would be able to teach, inspire, and serve, because Tagpros believes that education is a right all children deserve.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Celine, grade school teacher and EdTech coach from Xavier School, and I am back as your host for today. Welcome back to Tagpros Children Live Webinar Workshops. This webinar workshop series is brought to you by Tagpros Children in partnership with Tagpros Education, an up-and-coming online K-12 education marketplace where passion takes the lead in learning. This event is also made possible by the Department of Education International Cooperation Office, Teacher Education Network, and Next Series. It's good to see you all again here today, teachers. Thank you for joining us once more for our live webinar. We hope that during the wait, you were able to check out our newest episode of Tiny Thoughts, which was about mindfulness and how we can apply it in our classroom. If you haven't been able to check that out yet, feel free to go to our Facebook page and check it out under our videos tab, along with our previous episode as well, our first episode of Tiny Thoughts. Okay. So we have also released another video series entitled In the Spotlight. And in our first episode, we featured one of our Tagpros teacher pioneers, Miss Joyce Zerda. If you have not watched our newest content yet, go ahead and check those videos out on our Facebook page, like I've mentioned. And, feel free to share it as well with your teacher friends, with your colleagues, with your family, just so they can also get in on all our latest information and news. Okay, now let's take a look first. Let's have an attendance check and see where our viewers are coming from today. I actually saw somebody earlier who was from the US. So I think this was brought to them by the International Cooperation Office of DepEd. I'm really glad that we're able to reach people from across the world. We have people from, Camarines Sur, Zamboanga del Sur, all right, Isabela, okay, Davao, Cavite, so many people coming from all around the Philippines. We have Surigao City, Lawag, Pangasinan, Ilocos Sur. Okay, we have Lawag. Where else? We have Masbate. All right. I think we also have a couple of people coming from Rizal. We have from Davao de Oro, Camarines Sur. Oh, we have also a viewer from Jakarta. That's really nice to see. So aside from having our viewers coming from all of the different corners of the Philippines, it's really great to see that we also have viewers tuning into us from around the world, from Jakarta, from the US. So we're so glad to be able to have this opportunity to reach out to you wherever you are and provide you with this webinar workshop of ours. Okay, we have Antipolo, Ifugao, Marikina. All right, thank you so much, all of you, for joining us today. We're so glad that you have taken time from your weekend to be with us and to join us for our episode, our webinar workshop this wonderful afternoon. Okay, so last webinar, Mr. Alfonso Mangubat joined us to discuss how we can bring out our students' creativity more by making learning more personalized and contextualized. Today, we will be learning about how we can use apps like ClassCraft and Explain Everything to implement seamless gamification and collaboration for our students. And we'll be doing that with our guest today, Ms. Angela Ligumbres. As always, just a reminder to everyone, please practice responsible digital citizenship and refrain from sharing any personal information in the comment section. That would include your email, your contact number, and please remember to be civil with one another in our comment section. So let us give each other the respect that we deserve. And just in case that you've already forgotten, registering for our webinar workshop or just watching our webinar workshop will unfortunately not make you eligible for an e-certificate. Now, if you do want to receive an e-certificate for this, please make sure to answer our evaluation forms that we will be releasing after the session. Okay, so stay tuned for that. After our session is done, we will be sending the evaluation form in the comment section, and we will also be flashing up on the screen for you to be able to access. Now, after we open the form, you will only have a week to answer it before we close it next Friday at exactly 11:59 p.m. And if you miss that deadline, unfortunately, you will no longer be able to access and answer the evaluation form, and that would mean that you are not going to be able to receive the e-certificate regardless of if you registered or if you joined our webinar workshop today. So if you want to receive that certificate, make sure that you do answer it promptly, answer it as soon as you can so that you don't miss out on that chance. Okay, we hope that you understand and remember this just in case, So let us meet our guest resource speaker for today. She is a science and computer teacher at Xavier School, an EdTech coach, and also a member of the Next team, which helps teachers in the use of technology in the classroom. Aside from that, she is also an instructor at the Polytechnic University of the Philippines and has received certification from Google, Apple, CISA, and Adobe. Today, she'll be showing us how we can implement gamification and collaboration seamlessly for our students with ClassCraft and Explain Everything. So let's welcome to our virtual stage, Miss Angela Ligumbres. Here we go. Oh, hold on.
Once again, my name is Angela, and today I'm going to share with you 2 educational tools that will help you seamlessly gamify and make your classes collaborative. First, I'll be sharing with you can seamlessly gamify your classes. But before that, let me ask you a very quick question first. Why do you think we even need to include collaboration in our classes? What for? Maybe you can put it in the comment box. I'll give everyone 30 seconds. Why should we include collaboration in our classes? Why can't we just stick with, lecture, discussion, the normal, the traditional classes that we are used to? Why do we have to get or know this collaborative tools and include it in our classes? And 30 seconds is off. So thank you so much for putting all of your comments in the comment box. Actually, one reason why we need to include collaboration in our classes is, of course, it can help students synthesize information from different sources. And this allows students to develop higher level thinking skills. It boosts their confidence and self-esteem. Because of course, whenever students get a chance to talk and share with each other, their confidence and self-esteem become or improves, especially the shy ones actually. Putting them in small groups would lessen their fear of speaking and will improve their confidence. Collaboration can maximize educational experience, which will improve the social and interpersonal skills of our students, which will greatly help them in a real situation, or let's say whenever they get to work in the real world already. Whenever we work together, we actually create a better learning experience. The cognitive of a person doesn't only rely on what it knows and what the teacher says, let's say, but a lot of external factors will also affect the cognitive ability of the student. That's where collaboration comes in. And with that, I won't dig deep into the topic anymore, but maybe we can already start with our first educational tool for today, which is Explain Everything. So we have here Explain Everything. Explain Everything is actually a whiteboarding platform where people meet to share ideas and make them visual and clear so they can better understand each other. But of course, there's a lot more to that depending on how you are going to use the features it offers. It can be used for flip learning and even creating projects. So how do we start with Explain Everything? So with that, let me walk you through the steps that we need to do for us to really use it and use it to make our class collaborative. So first, of course, we go to explaineverything.com. So basically, this is where you're going to start. If you click try it now, it will lead us to the whiteboard immediately without asking to sign in, but it will not be saved. So with that, we're going to try to sign in. So we're gonna click on sign in, and if you don't have an account yet, you click on create one now. You'll have actually lots of options whether to sign up with Google, or you can use username too. There are also other sign up options, Apple, Microsoft, Clever, and so. Because I already have an account, I'm not going to sign up anymore, but I'll go back and sign in. If you're going to be signing in, of course, the usual thing, you put your details on it. Once you're signed in, you'll see your library or your drive where all of your projects are located. Over here is your account where you'll actually see how many more spaces are left in your drive, an option to upgrade, privacy settings. You can edit your profile, put some bio note on it, and an option to delete. But of course, we won't be doing that. So there's a lot of things you can do with Explain Everything, actually. You can use it for collaboration, not only with your co-teachers, but you can also allow your students to have real-time collaboration with each other. So to start with a new project, you can just click new project. Then you'll have an option on how you want to start. You can start from blank canvas. You can also use templates, or if you already have a file created and just want to add a bit of explain everything on it, you can do that too. But for now, we're going to be starting using a template. Let's say you're teaching science and your topic is all about the healthy and unhealthy environment. So for that, maybe we can use the cause and effect template. And we can ask our students to think of all the possible causes of global warming, but we want it to be collaborative. The usual thing that we would be doing is we're going to be putting them in breakout rooms. The thing about breakout rooms, though, is sometimes it's hard to see if they are really working on what to ask them to do, or just doing some chit-chatting, unless you join them and really see what they are doing. So with that, with Explain Everything, we can actually maximize its feature, so we can let our students collaborate with each other. At the same time, we know where they are and that they are really working on it. Because as they access the file, we can also access it on our end. So we know if they're doing some editing on it, they're adding some additional ideas on it, or they're not accessing the file at all. Because you can see it. You can see how many students or how many collaborators are in the document or inside the project. So actually, if it's just you in the project, your students might have not really accessed it and is not really doing the activity. So it's one way of managing your class as well, besides making sure that there's collaboration within the class. Now, the question is, how do we exactly do that? So I have in here the cause and effect template. And this is what I want my class to work on. So I'll be dividing the class into 3 groups. So with this, I'll be renaming this to Group 1, Cause and Effect, or it's up to you how you want to name it. Then I'll be sharing the link to this project to Group 1 members only. So to get the link, I'll just have to click this button here. And you'll see a drop down with the invite link, invite code, access permission, add people, scenario, and settings. We just have to click the copy to copy the invite link, or if we want to copy the code, we click on the invite code. Now, before we give this to our students, we have to make sure that we set the access permissions to anyone with a link. This is so that even if students don't have Explain Everything account, they can still work on it. If you want your students to create their account, you can choose adding the name of the member of the group instead of making the access permission to anyone with a link. So whichever works best for you. But for me, I usually do the anyone with a link. Okay? So this one is for Group 1. So what I need to do next is to just simply duplicate this project now for the other 2 groups. And I just have to rename it so that I won't be confused, as well as the students will not be confused too, whose work is it, okay? So to duplicate this, we'll just go back to our library by clicking on Projects, located on the upper left corner of the screen, and then we click the project we want to duplicate. We have an option to get the invitation link, create a web video link, put it to the Google Classroom, edit it. If we're going to click on the 3 dots, this will give us more options. It's either to download, edit details, move to folder, delete, and here is what we need to copy the project. So we have an option to change the name of the copy, how many copies we want, and where we want to put it. Click on copy, then click on. Now, getting the invitation link for the other groups, you can get it already by clicking the project first. You can click the invite button, and if you prefer anyone can edit, you may stick with that. Or if you want to add people by adding their Explain Everything account, you can do that too. Again, it's all up to you. So you can click the code to copy the code, or you can also click share and share the link to Group 2 and do the same thing for the other group. So what will it look like? The question is, what will it look like now on the end of the student if they try to access this link? So I'm going to try that one out, but I'm going to keep my my teacher's view so that you will actually see that whatever changes the student do to the whiteboard or to the project, you as a teacher, if you access the file, you will see exactly real-time changes that's happening or that's being done by your students. So I'll get the link, and because I'm only using one device, I'll try to access the link in an incognito or private browser. Now, when a student tries to access the link you shared, it will look like this. So they just have to accept all, so they can use the pictures smoothly. And here you will see the student will have an option to open their mic or keep it muted. That's another feature of Explain Everything, actually. Your students can work and collaborate with each other even though they are not in a breakout group. So meaning you can use Explain Everything synchronously and asynchronously. As long as they have the link, they are in Explain Everything whiteboard, their mics are on, they can talk with each other while they are collaborating with each other and finishing their output, you're good to go with this. For now, we're going to mute it, okay? So we won't go through the exploration, but you can tell your students to do that. And voila, whatever tools you are seeing, your students are seeing and can use it too. You can draw, use highlighter, eraser, paint, shapes, text, cutout tool, delete, laser point. Laser point is usually used for, or if you are presenting. And then we have here inspector, which allows us grouping elements, arranging its position, locking and unlocking. We also have undo, workout layouts. You can be in standard layout, simple, presenter, or if you do have your own layout, all up to you. Now here on top, you will notice who are currently on the project. This is what I'm saying earlier. I did not sign in using my Student Explain Everything account. My name will not actually appear. On the end of the teacher and other collaborators, you'll appear, or the student will appear as explainer. So the name will not be on it, okay? So it's up to you if you're good with they're just explainer, anyway, you know who they are. Or if you want to really have them sign in so you can really see who are participating or who are doing the collaborative activity. Now, if you ask your students to create an account, not only will you see the name of the collaborator, but your students will also have a shared folder on his Explain Everything library. Okay, so let me show you how it's going to look. So let's say, for example, I signed in as a student. Okay, so this is where they can see shared projects with them. So let's say, for example, they are using Explain Everything in their other subjects. So they can see all the shared projects here, the shared whiteboards. Okay, now you might be asking, will the shared projects be counted in the memory of my Explain Everything try? Or let's say, for example, your students try to access the shared project that you share with them. Will that take up the memory or the space of their drive? The answer is no, it won't. So if ever you have lots of shared files, it won't take up any of your drive space or memory of your Explain Everything drive. Explain Everything will only took some memory from the creator of the project. Okay, so besides using it for group activity, actually you can use it also as a class activity. It can be just, one project and you want to get ideas from your class while you are discussing. You can share the link to the class and everyone will work on it. Then once you're done, you can save it by clicking the share button. Then you'll have an option to either create a web video link, download it, or broadcast it. But usually, I do download it. So we click on export. Then we can choose either image, PDF, or explain file format, which we can import to explain everything again. All right. And that is how you make your class collaborative using Explain Everything. Now, I have another EdTech tool which can actually go hand in hand will explain everything. But it can also not go hand in hand. So again, it's all up to you on how you're going to be using these tools. Now, before I go to my next EdTech tool, which is ClassCraft, all about gamifying your class, let me ask you first, why do you think there's even a need to gamify classroom? Why gamify it? It's like, are we instead of letting our students learn something about schools or learn something about concepts, we just let them play games? Isn't that a little bit off? Or why gamification is getting more popular now, or educators would keep on saying, try to gamify your class so it will be more active and all. Maybe 30 seconds again. Why do you think we need to gamify our classes? Kindly put your comments in the comment box. Thank you so much. So we can just use traditional classroom management and all, but why add gamification? Wouldn't it be like complicate things? Like it will work without gamification. Why still gamify it? Right? There's a lot of feedbacks on that one. So why? And my timer stops 30 seconds. And all right. So thank you for all the response, for all the comments. First, it's because our students are millennials, Gen Z, Gen Alpha. They all love games. They all love challenges. That's one of the one of the reasons, definitely. The feeling of getting into a quest. They do love that. Having an interactive class experience, they want to be part of what's happening inside the classroom. It's not just all about the teacher. They want to be included or be part of what is really happening. They don't just want to sit in there or like just listen to you. Okay, it's like we are letting them to solve something on their own or with their group through gamification. Gamification actually increases the appeal of learning processes, innovation, fun, productivity, and the ability to retain knowledge and acquire new skills. As a matter of fact, there's actually a scientific explanation behind it. Whenever we become part of an activity that actually stimulates our body or our minds, our body releases a hormone known as endorphins. Now, when those endorphins are released, the learners will not only have fun or really enjoy what they are doing, but it does help in retaining more information and thus make gamification effective. Let me walk you through on how we can use ClassCraft to gamify our classes. So to start with, we go to classcraft.com. So we click on login. Here you actually have an option whether you log in through Google or through other services, or just simply use username or type the email addresses. So it's up to you. If you don't have an account yet, you just need to click the sign up link over here. And then you choose I'm a teacher, unless you're a student or a parent. But I'll be assuming you're a teacher. So we all click I'm a teacher. Then you get the option to sign up using Google or another service. Because again, I already created an account before. I'll be logging in already. Okay, but I'll be logging in using my demo account. So once you log in, you'll be in your dashboard where you can actually see all of your classes. If you click activity here, you will see the activities that you assigned your classes. If you are going to click my library, you will see boss battles and quests that you assigned and created to your classes. So for now, let's start by creating a new class. So we go back to home, then we click the button create a class. we can see that it's very easy to maneuver or go along with the website itself. So we type in here our class name. Maybe we can name it Tagpros. Then we set the class settings. So, because I'm a middle school teacher, I'll choose middle school for now and click the next button. And because we're online, I'll be choosing remote learning, then click the next button. Actually, one reason why ClassCraft will be asking you this is because they do have default powers, characters, behaviors that they actually based on how you are doing your classes. It will then lead you back to the homepage with all your other classes that you have. So ClassCraft will give you actually an option to review the behaviors, review the powers, assign students, and a lot more settings. So we'll just follow that. So for now, here are the behaviors: setting a goal, completing online activities, showing up for a video lesson, being positive, being respectful, and helping another student. Let's say we want to change some of those behaviors. For now, here on this page, we won't actually be able to do that because if you're going to remember, it just says there that it's reviewed. So we're only reviewing it, and then maybe later, in the settings page of your ClassCraft account, that's where we can actually change all of this behavior and powers and all. Okay, so I'll just click on next. Okay, so then it will give us negative behaviors. Again, same thing. We won't be able to change because ClassCraft just wants us to review default behaviors based on what we chose, which is remote learning. Then I'm just going to click on next. We also have default pledges. Pledges are like consequences. So, for example, your student lost a lot of HP or HP, and he fell because of too much bad behavior. So there's no more health. HP is health points. So there's no more health, so that means you fall as a warrior. You fell as a warrior. Now, don't worry because we can still edit those behaviors and pledges after we're done reviewing it. But that's how pledges actually work. So we'll review the powers too. We click on review powers. Then you can read it, see if you're good with it already, or definitely, I'm sure you want to change some of it based on your class context. Okay. The guardian powers are, well, giving your students some power. So let us say powers are like, for example, a teammate is about to lose 20 health points, which could lead to a pledge or a consequence. Now, as a teammate, okay, this is where collaboration comes in ClassCraft, because students get to be with a team, and you are letting your students work as a team as well. So powers are like, so somebody in your team is about to lose 20 health points, which could lead to a consequence. Now, as a teammate of that student, you don't want to let your teammate fail, right? You want to help your teammate. And that's where the power comes in. So here, you can see that we have in here, Guardian do have a Protect 2 power. So that, just an example. So instead of your teammate taking the 20 HP damage, because you have more health points compared to your teammate, you'll just take the hit. You'll just take the 20 damage, just so your teammate will not fail. Okay, so ClassCraft gamification, not only does it offer collaboration, not only does it offer, let's say, gamification, allowing students to really go on quest and all, but it also offers camaraderie. Okay, so it also helps the students or teach the students those kind of values, because again, they're working as a team. Okay, now actually edit those depending on how we want the powers to be, but it's just a review, so we're going to be clicking on next. Healer's powers, well, this is the power of healer's characters. Most likely it would be better to have healer's power, well, some point connected with healing. So you can use the default powers, or if you want to tweak it a little bit, you are free to do so. You can change how the powers will go about, but for now, I'm going to click next. Okay, so we have here also mage powers. Same thing. You can review it, and if you want to edit something, you can edit later after reviewing them. So we're just going to be clicking done for now. And we're done with all the reviews. What we're going to do next is we are going to assign students. So here, you can create a new account for students, or if you have the same students from other classes, you can import them. For this demo, I'll be adding a new accounts. Then you'll actually have an option to add students manually, or you can import from Google Classroom of the Google account you used in creating ClassCraft. So let's say, for example, you choose your Gmail Google account, your personal Gmail. Of course, the classes that it will get will be the classes in your personal Gmail. But if you used your working email account, then the classes will be the one in your email account. So they're connected. But I won't be clicking them because you might see the full names of my students, and we don't want that. So we're gonna go back and create new accounts manually instead. Don't worry, we can copy and paste here so that we don't really need to type all of those things. So then once we're done, we click create account already. Okay. We'll have an option now to add a team, because ClassCraft, again, it actually goes together with collaboration. Okay, so we click add a team. Then to assign students, we just drag and drop them to the team where we want them to be part of. We can edit the details of the team by clicking the pencil icon. So we can pick a crest. Well, it's more like an emblem or a logo. Pick a background, and of course, rename our team. Let's say squad. I can think of a name. Then let's click on save and done. All right. So we now prepare for the student introduction. Here you can download the rules, summary, team sheets, hero packs, student codes, and you can give this to your students for them to actually review so that each one of you know how to use it throughout the class. Like what's the power? How do you get HP? How do you get XP? When do you get negative HP, or when do you lose HP because of negative behaviors and all? What are the pledges? What could be the quest? Who are your teammates? Okay, so it's all here, but we don't want to download this yet, because if you're going to remember, if you're not yet sure with the behavior, the powers, the negative behaviors, positive behaviors, the team, okay, don't download them yet. Make sure you are good with all of the behaviors, the powers, and all your ClassCraft game settings before you download them and give them to your students. Okay, so for now, we'll just click next. We'll click next again. And you can show this to your students before you start using ClassCraft in your class. If they are able to sign in, if you will allow them to sign in ClassCraft, they do have a chance to watch this on their end. So we're now back to the home page. So let's go and look for the class that we created earlier. So we click on play. There we go. Now, because it's a new class, you'll be asked to set up the character of each of your students. If you put a lot of students, you have a lot of students, that's a lot. That will actually take some of your time. Now, if you're going to be the one setting it up for them, yeah, well, technically that will take up a lot of your time. The catch here is students can only set it up if they sign up in ClassCraft or if they do have ClassCraft account. So usually, if you're going to be using this in lower levels, at some point there might be some features that you won't be able to use because your students are not able to really access it on their end. But it can still be very helpful, especially with all the points and all negative behaviors. It will be very helpful with regards to classroom management, collaboration, and all. Now, actually, it would still work if, let's say, you are using this in lower levels. For me, it would work if you'll be the one setting it up. Sometimes, though, you can put some twist on it. You can add it to add a challenge on it, like they will only be able to, or you will only be able to allow them to set it up if they behave well on the first week of school. So that's an additional, like, you have to be this to be able to get your character up. So they get to do that before class starts or during break time. Actually, depends on you. But if your students, let's say, it's in the middle level, high school, college, you can let them set it up, sign up in ClassCraft. This will also save you time, and you and your students can really use all the features of ClassCraft. Okay, so for now, I will be setting up my own. I will set it up on my own first by clicking Set up the character. You will see that each character has different HP or their health points and AP or their action points. Usually in RPGs or in games like this, mages, they do have very low health points, but they do have great damage because of the magic. While guardians are, well, they are stronger. That's why they do have higher health points. But the power is a little bit not that strong, even though they do have that big muscles because they don't have power. Okay? Or they don't, not power, but they don't have the magic in them. So while healers, they do have 50 health points and 35 action points. AP or action points is the damage that a character will be able to put in. Okay, so most likely one reason why it's a little higher is because, again, healers, they do have magic power, so that could be the reason why. Now, maybe for now, I'm going to choose mage, then click next. Then we choose an appearance, so of course I'll choose the girl. Then next, for now, you get to choose between 3 basic powers first. Each is different. The other powers will only get unlocked once the character levels up. Okay, so level up first before you get the other powers. And for a character to level up, it needs to finish quests or activities or gain XP or experience points. And this will be gained if students are behaving well, completing a quest, and up to whatever the teacher have set. Okay, so for now, I'll choose a random one. Then finish. Here you will see teams, your classes. You have on the right the game feed, to-dos. So for example, you have active quest, then notifications, and of course, your profile, where you can see your profile details and can edit it. Now on the left, you will actually see icons. First is the logo of ClassCraft. If we click that, we go back home. We also have the home button, which will lead to home as well. Then we have students, where we can see all the students. See, it's very user-friendly. Next is the suitcase icon, which is the class tools. We have here random picker, whether to pick a random player or a random team. So let's say, for example, recitation. You're having class discussion synchronously, and then no one's reciting. Okay, let's do ClassCraft, random picker, and here we go. Try to answer or do or say something, share your idea about this specific concept. And we have random events. So it's like random activities. If I click see event, it will show a random activity that the class can do. So if we click next, we'll go back to the dashboard. So let's go back to the activities. You can actually manage the events. Okay. Just click manage events over here. Then you can edit it the way you want it to be. It can be a surprise Kahoot challenge. It can be charade, sudden charade out of nowhere, or any activity that you can think can be fun. But yeah, at some point, of course, you try to balance it. Think majority of the activity should be connected to your subject, and then maybe you can put some, a little bit fun of it just to balance what's happening in your class. So we have your volume meter. So here, if the class is getting a little bit noisy, we put some reward or a penalty if they go beyond. No, we put some reward or we put some penalty if they go beyond the volume meter. So maybe 100 XP if the class were able to stay quiet. So that's 100 XP for everyone. Then GP is actually considered as gold points, which is only available if you upgrade or you are using premium ClassCraft account. So maybe the class will lose HP if they are not quiet. You can set also a timer for this. Maybe 5 minutes only of the class, just to give them a little bit of a quiet or mindful time. Then we click on next. Here we set our volume indicator. So which volume should students avoid going beyond? Maybe 25. That's a little bit close. But again, it's mindfulness. So let's make it 25. And I'll click start. So here we go. There we go. The volume is on for 5 minutes. No one should speak or else everyone loses 50 HP. So if I speak louder there, it reach the max. So I get an oops. I'm too loud. So as a teacher, it's up to you if it's a false alarm or you'll proceed with deducting 50 HP. For this, I'll make it a false alarm because, yeah, I'm loud. And I'll click finish so that I get, or everyone get 100 experience points. And next, we have in here boss battles. This will get students to gain more XP for more powers. You can create your own boss battle, actually. It can be a formative assessment. So you see, there's another tweak. You can actually create assessments in ClassCraft in a way that students will be able to have fun in doing the assessment. Because sometimes whenever students do assessments, they tend to, no, I'm not ready to take it. What if I won't be able to answer it and all? But if they are doing it in a game, like they have to defeat the boss and all, it's like, I have to defeat the boss. So I got to make this right. And at some point, they are excited for the assessment. Students are getting excited for assessments. Okay. Now, to have a view of it, let's try this learning about ClassCraft battle just for demo purposes. So I'll click on next, and it can be either by team or by students. Then we start the battle. So we click on check here. Now you have to show this to your students. You can share your screen. Here you can actually see if they are getting it right. They get to deduct 15 HP from the boss. So you have to ask your students what their final answer is. Then once they say their final answer, you reveal the answer. If they get it correct, you click the correct answer button and you'll see that the boss lost 15 HP. Now, what if it's wrong? Well, someone in the team will lose some points. So it's the other way around. So the team actually has the chance to take the damage or will deal with the damage later. Okay? If you will remember earlier, there are some powers. So if there is someone in the team that do have the power to like, I'll take the 15 damage instead of you because I have the power and it won't really affect me that much. Then the team may choose to have that. Okay. So again, collaboration, teamwork, and all. Now another tool is Kudos, which is applicable if your students signed up in ClassCraft. And next we have the map icon, which is the quest. Okay, this the quest is actually very helpful. You can actually connect it with your the way you created your lesson plan. So it's like telling your students about the flow already. Okay, so let me give you an example. Let's try clicking on the plus button on top to add a quest. So we're going to be adding a quest. Let's click anywhere on the map to start a quest. And let us say, for example, first quarter. So you see, you were actually able to, your students will know already what's going to happen within the first quarter. What are the things that I need to achieve? What are the things that I need to do? How long or how many activities do I need to finish and all? What's going to be the topic and all? So you can do it. You can do the quest in that way. Okay. Now these are the things that you have to do. So you choose a map, and then we click on next. You choose a class where you want to assign the quest. Then click next. Then you click a starting point in the map. You click a starting point on the map. Then what activity you want the students to do before they actually go to the next objective. So let us say, for example, be able to submit the first assignment before the deadline. Then pick save. Just an example. So if your students can access the ClassCraft, they can access the quest and start doing it already. So at some point, it's also self-paced. Okay. Then we put here the XP that will be added if they completed this activity. Let us say 100 XP. Okay. Then to add another objective, you go back to the quest, click the plus button on top, and choose a place in the map. Then it can be a task, a Google assignment, a quiz, or that's the end of the quest. So maybe we can choose Google Form, and for this one, you just have to allow ClassCraft to connect with your Google account, and you can choose your Google Form already. And of course, response document for that, then a passing grade, let's say 10. Then next, then we put how many XP we should give. Because it's a quiz, let's make it 1,000. Then click save. It says here, if the student were not able to pass, it will get to a different path, which you can set up by using this connect objectives icon on top. There. So you'll just have to drag which path you want the students to go. Let us say he'll go back to introduction if it didn't pass formative, just an example. Then we click the connect icon again. And here you'll see a check and an X. So if you want the student to go back or do a different task, you can connect it there and click X. So maybe like a review, and then after the review, he do again the task at all. So make sure only the X is highlighted. If he got it right, then it's the check mark that should be highlighted. If your quest is all ready and you want it to be visible to your students, you can click on the eye icon. Then show quest. For now, we can just close that. All right. Actually, you can also search quest in the ClassCraft, mark it by clicking on this icon over here. Then you'll be rerouted to another page. So whatever quest you want to use, you can just import it to your class by clicking on import button. Choose which class you want to add it. We'll just import it as a regular task because we did not connect it to Google. And voila, you have your new quest. Then next we have messaging to class and parents. You can invite parents if you want. Here, the analytics, more of what happened in the game. Did somebody earn extra points or lose or completed a quest? You'll all see it here, more of like a history. And the settings. Okay, so here on settings, this is where we can change everything in our class. Remember earlier, we're reviewing the behaviors, the powers, the pledges, and all. Here, you can edit it here. So students, you'll see students, you can add students here. You have teams over here, you have multi-class parents here, co-teachers. You can change the behaviors, the powers, pledges, random events or random activities, and the kudos that were shown earlier. So for now, let's focus on the behaviors. Here you can add a behavior or edit the default behavior by just clicking on it and change the description in XP and, well, gold points if you're on premium, and then click on save. So same thing goes with powers, pledges, random events, and kudos. And basically, that's what ClassCraft is all about. So teachers, don't be afraid to try out this new educational tools. At first, it might be a little bit intimidating and all because of all the graphics and all. I have to study it all again, but it's worth a try. We always keep on learning, and with this, I hope we all let our class be engaging, motivating, gamified, collaborative, and fun to be in. Once again, my name is Angela, your EdTech coach here. Thank you for listening and hope you learned something.
All right. Thank you so much, Angela, for sharing your expertise with us. Let's all give her a round of applause for giving us such an amount of insight into these two particular apps and how we can really gamify our sessions so that our students really enjoy them. Okay, so let's move on now to our open forum. I'm sure that a lot of you have questions for our speaker. So let's welcome now back to our virtual stage, Miss Angela Ligumbres. All right, there you go. Hi, Angela.
Good afternoon. Hi, Celine. And good afternoon also to everyone.
All right, so Angela is here to answer some of the questions that you may have about the apps that she presented or any other information that you would like to know about gamification. So I'll just be going through the questions that our audience members have sent us during the session. And then later on, if we have some more time, we could maybe go over a couple more questions. So please do continue for those of you who are watching right now, for our viewers. Please continue posting any questions or comments that you have about our session today, and we will definitely go over them. So let's begin with our first few questions. I have here a question from Eve, the Divas. She is asking, is it free? So I'm guessing ClassCraft and Explain Everything. Are these apps free for us to use?
All right. Thank you for that one, Celine. Just to make sure if everyone can hear me, because
Yes.
I think I'm a little bit lagging on my end. All
We
right.
can hear you. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Actually, ClassCraft and Explain Everything. They are totally free. However, just like all the other applications, they do have limited features. So just like, for example, Explain Everything. If you're going to, if you noticed earlier on when I presented it, my projects are actually blank because Explain Everything free. You only get to have 3 projects only. So there's a limitation for that one. But then again, you can still use it in terms of class collaboration, and then after you use it, you can download it and then you can just delete the project so that you'll be able to use the maximum 3 projects. But if you have an extra money to actually go premium, you're free to do so. As for ClassCraft, same thing. Actually, there's a lot of features for if your account is free. It's just that there are some class tools that will not be available. Just like what you saw earlier, there are also some features like there won't be gold points. But what I presented earlier, all of that is actually under the free account. So technically speaking, you will still be able to maximize both Explain Everything and ClassCraft because I use the free account for both.
Okay, thank you so much, Angela. So I guess our teachers just have to be resourceful, especially with Explain Everything, that they have a limit of just 3, right? Yeah, I was going to say I do the same thing after I'm done with one particular thing. If we're done with that activity, we're not gonna use it anymore. I just download it and then just reuse the board for something else. So our teachers have to be resourceful. But you did mention that we can also upgrade to a premium account if we decide to do so. Would you know the maybe the price range if we do decide to upgrade to a premium account for those two apps?
For Explain Everything, actually, it's I'm not sure if it's still the same if it's still the same amount, but I think it's $10 a month, so that's gonna be more of like 500. And then for
200, yeah.
ClassCraft, I think it's $24. Yeah, roughly.
Okay. Thank you so much, Angela. So that means if our teachers want to maybe invest in those, they can start preparing if they want to. And these subscriptions are monthly, right? So they would have to be able to subscribe to those features monthly. But it's good to know that we have those free options for it. You can get a free account from it and you can use free features from it so that even if you don't necessarily have, the resources right now to be able to get those premium features, at least it's an option and we can still use them. Okay. We have a couple more questions here. We have from Cheryl Magsakay. In a free account, limited lang po ba ang number ng students na pwede maka-access sa ClassCraft? Since 2019 kasi na-try ko madami bata di makapasok or maka-access. So, is there a limit to the number of students that you can add to ClassCraft if you're on just a free account?
Sorry, my computer is lagging. Anyway, actually, based on my experience, wala namang limit with regards to the number of students sa ClassCraft. As long as the students do have a ClassCraft account, they will be able to use it. And teachers will give them the student code because there's actually a student code that the teachers need to give. So they have just to make sure that the student code is correctly inputted by the students.
Okay, so those students who might not be able to access it might be because they're not putting the code incorrectly. Okay, so you have to double check that with our students. I've actually experienced something similar where my students are telling me I can't access it, I can't open it, and it turns out actually been entering the code wrong. They have even just one letter or one number wrong in the code. It completely does not allow them to access it. So let's double check with our students to make sure that they have the correct code with them. Okay. From Manolita Ramos Oligo, she asks, what is the difference between Explain Everything, the Explain Everything whiteboard and Jamboard, Google Jamboard?
Well, actually, they are both for whiteboarding. They are both good for collaboration. I know you've been using that too in your classes. The only thing, of course, the difference would be the features. Like, for example, in Jamboard, I don't think it's possible to have the microphones. Like, you get to talk with the person you're collaborating in. In Explain Everything, you get, if you noticed earlier, the students will have the chance to really talk. So they don't need to go to join Zoom, have a video conferencing, and then do the collaboration because they can already talk there. And there's also a feature in Explain Everything that allows the user to record. So whatever they have put in there, they can already screen record it as they say something about it and then download that as a video.
All right, thank you, Angela. Actually, we have a follow-up question about about Explain Everything and about using the whiteboard. How can we make our whiteboards look presentable?
Well, actually, it would fall on the urge of the teacher to be creative, and as much as possible, whenever we design whiteboard, not only whiteboard but even our presentations, we just have to follow the design, what do you call this one, we just have to follow the correct design, design terminologies, or like we have to make sure that our design is neat. Okay, so of course, if it's neat, it's presentable. We have to make sure that we don't really bombard it with all the information. So we have to like generalize it so that students will be able to understand it better, know what they really have to do. Don't bombard it with text because it's presentation, it's whiteboard. That's why if you're going to take a look at the everything, explain everything features, and even the other whiteboard features, they have a lot of tools. You can add image, video, and all. So don't just simply put text, but at the same time, you make it neat. That's very important with regards to making it presentable.
All right. So I guess, following the same type of way you design like your presentations, like your PowerPoints, those kinds of presentations, the same way you design those where you're keeping everything neat and organized and easy for students to understand, we apply those same things to our whiteboards. And I guess we can also think back on when we used actual whiteboards, right? When we use actual whiteboards, we also keep that organized. So it's the same here. We just have to make sure everything is neat, everything is clear for our students to understand, and that would be enough to make it presentable. Okay, thank you, Angela. We have more questions coming in. Okay, how can we teach science and math classes using ClassCraft?
Well, actually, I can answer the science part as a science teacher. One thing that you can use ClassCraft for science is, let's say, for example, remember the quest feature. So let's say, for example, your topic is all about the human body. And of course, given the time that students are being online, given the limited time, you can actually create a quest wherein students will first, like first objective, they get to learn let's say skeletal system, and then if they get to understand skeletal system, um, they move to the next objective, which is the next quest. So that the next one for that one, let's say for example muscular system, and then after muscular system they go to the next quest until they finish all of the different body systems. So you can actually create quests depending on topics, depending on your topics in science as well as in math. I think that will also work in math. And not only in science and math, actually, because ClassCraft can also be used for classroom management. If you're going to remember the behavior, the health points, and all, teamwork, and all. So you just have to include that in all of your activities in classes. So if you do this, your team get the points, or if your team is noisy, your team get a deduction and all. So you just try to play with all the features that ClassCraft offers.
Okay, we just got actually another question that's kind of related to that one. Can we also use ClassCraft in Araling Panlipunan?
Yes, definitely, especially well, it's timeline. So definitely you can actually it's very useful. Actually, in Savior, I do know a co-teacher who uses Classcraft in CLE too. So it's more of how you're going to imagine your activities or how you're going to put your activities into something that your students will get interested. So let's say, for example, in Araling Panlipunan, um, first objective, this happened first, and then once they got that, they go to the next objective. And again, it's all about the context.
Okay, thank you, Angela. So I guess we can use it for any subject really, and even like you mentioned, for classroom management. So I guess that answers one of the questions that we have here. How about in teaching PE? So I guess we can use that as well there. But there is an additional question to that one. Can I also upload video lessons or demonstrations in ClassCraft?
Yes, it's possible for Classcraft to do upload videos. If you're going to look back at the quest, I don't think I can share my screen. But if you're going to try to take a look back at Classcraft, when you add a task, there's actually a lot of options there wherein you can add an image. You can even insert a link. So let's say you want your students to try to visit this specific link. Let's say your students are college or higher levels, and then you want them to go through this specific journal and all. So you can even give links, videos, images, and more.
Okay, so it's very flexible. It can you can upload videos, pictures, and links. So that's great to know. It's good to know that we have that flexibility, we have that range of options that we can use to really provide instruction and give those quests to our students. Some more questions about ClassCraft. We're getting a lot of questions about ClassCraft. It looks like a lot of our teachers are very interested about this particular app. What should I customize to make sure that ClassCraft is perfect for the classroom, for my class?
Actually, one good, maybe just a tip with regards to customizing your ClassCraft is you make your students be part of it. Like, for example, the powers. Whenever you customize the powers, you try to talk with your students. All right, if you get to finish this activity, what power do you think will be okay for the class? Because again, it's given the context of our students right now, it's very important that we get to have them involved. So with regards to customizing it, it would be better actually, based on my experience and my other co-teachers experience, they would always include their students with regards to the decision making of customizing the class craft, because again, it's not only you who's using it, but even your students are using it. So it's not on your perspectives only, but get the perspectives of your students as well. But of course, you try to check first if their suggestions are okay, or they have, well, you know it, as a teacher you're the one who decides, who do the final decision.
Okay, so yeah, I actually was wondering about that too, because there's so many things that you can customize in ClassCraft, right? Like almost every element you can really customize. So I guess that, like what you said, it really depends as well on your students. You get to know your students, and of course, you pattern your ClassCraft based on your students' needs and their interests, and that's the one way that you can really make it more appropriate for them, more suitable for them. Okay. A couple more questions about ClassCraft. What tips can you suggest for managing students who are playing ClassCraft? So actually, I want to add my own question to this because I also noted this down earlier. What can we do to make sure that, for example, our students are not just playing ClassCraft while we're having our lessons?
I think that's where you really impose from the beginning of your class, before you start using ClassCraft, you impose to your students that these are the negative behaviors that you don't want to happen. So if that's the case, let's say you don't want them to play or like do the quest while you are, because there are quests, so you don't want them to do the quest while you are discussing. So you put that, you can include that in the negative behaviors. If they are playing that, then they lose some health points. That way around, they won't actually do that. That's why they are actually positive and negative behavior. So at some point, it's helping you with classroom management already. So whatever you want to happen in the class, you put that in your rules in the game, and you impose that to your students.
All right. Thank you, Angela. One more question. Do students need to have their own account to be able to access ClassCraft, or do we just send the links? Do we just send the codes for them to be able to access it?
If we will, if we want them to access, like, let's say, for example, middle school, high school, college, they need to sign up. They need to sign up in ClassCraft. After they sign up, that's the time that they use the class code, so that you are sure that they will be joining your class. The student code is actually so that they will be in the right class, just like in Google Classroom. Diba? In Google Classroom, for a students to join a Google class, they need to have a Google account. And for them to join your class, you give them the student code. So same thing with ClassCraft.
Okay, so to answer that question that our audience member asked, yes, your students do need to have an account before they can join your class on ClassCraft. But I think it's a very easy process for students, right? It's just a few details that they need to input. Is that right, Angela?
Yes, if the students already have a Google account, especially the higher ones, definitely, well, given the situation we have right now, most of the students, they do have Google accounts, so they can just use that. They can even use username, the usual username type, and then they just have to remember it. So there's actually a lot of ways for the students to sign up, even teachers.
Okay. All right, so we have different options for them and for ourselves as well to sign up. Okay, additional question from Cheryl Magsakay. Malakas po ba sa data ang ClassCraft since in public school, since she teaches in public school and may mga bata na nakadata lang na nagsasabi na ubos na agad data niya sa ClassCraft. So there are students who are using only mobile data, I suppose, who are saying that ClassCraft is taking up a lot of their bandwidth, a lot of their data. So is it really that heavy on bandwidth? Oh, Angela, you're still muted. Sorry.
Sorry. ClassCraft, sorry. With regards to the bandwidth, because of the graphics, well, you saw the graphics and all. Definitely, it will take some bandwidth, but ClassCraft says that it's more of like 5 Mbps per user. So, well, that will actually take a lot. Actually, it's not only about the internet bandwidth with regards to accessing ClassCraft. Because of the graphics, we also have to consider the capacity of the phone itself. Like, is it capable of handling those graphics or not? But I think given the devices right now, it's still accessible. Students just need to be a little bit more patient with regards to accessing it. But yes, it does use quite a bandwidth. 5 Mbps. Not so much. Yeah, 5 Mbps.
Oh, okay. So it does use a little more of that data. So is there any maybe workaround that we can do? Any tips on how we can lessen that burden on the students' data when we're using ClassCraft? Actually, I think this is also related to one of the questions we have here. Is ClassCraft only for real time, or can we do it asynchronously?
Yes. I think that one actually is connected at some point. So given that one, I think that's where we can actually let students use ClassCraft self-paced. So ClassCraft can also be used. It can be used synchronously, asynchronously, as long as you as a teacher already set up the activities. In that way, the student will not have this feeling that it's already deadline. I have to do this, and my ClassCraft is not working and all. So there's actually a way around in the ClassCraft. So again, you can make use of the features, the quest, or let's say for example the boss battles and all. You can all use that.
Okay, so yes, we can use it asynchronously, and I think using it asynchronously could also maybe help with the issue regarding data, right? So students can just access it when they need to. They don't have to be on it the whole time. The whole time that you're in class, they don't have to be logged into ClassCraft and loading it. It's just when they really need to access it. So that's one way that we can lessen that burden on them as well. Okay, so how about this one? In case of a power interruption, can the activity I prepared still be accessed by the students?
If it's saved, actually in ClassCraft, if you did something, there will be a pop up, like a notification below saying it's saved. So if it's saved, your work is saved. Okay. But if you were not able to save it, and then the power comes in, I mean, the power comes in, then most likely you may need to redo the part wherein you weren't able to save.
Okay. All right. So always make sure that you save does this auto save or not? Do you have to physically and manually save it?
You have to manually save it. There's a button to save it. So you have to save it. If let's say for example you're done with one task, well actually you cannot proceed to the next task naman. In ClassCraft, you cannot, let's say you're creating an objective or a task. You do it, when you go to the next, you will always be asked of the to save it. So
Okay.
before you go to the next one, the save button will always be there. So you have no choice but to save it.
All right, so just always make sure that you save all of the things you're doing before you move on to the next thing. Or if you feel like a power interruption is going to come, make sure to save your work. I suppose not only power interruptions, right, but even our interruptions when it comes to our internet connection, which happens often. It is a usual encounter that we have. So always save just in case. Okay, we have one more question from Linda La Cruz about ClassCraft. How can I assess reading comprehension using ClassCraft?
Well, assessing reading comprehension in ClassCraft, it would be creating questions. So let's say, for example, you're going to be using the boss battles features. So for you to do that, or no, maybe a quest. You give them a reading first, and then they read it, and then they go to the next to the next objective, and then from there you put the questions that will help you assess their reading comprehension. If they did not meet the passing grade for that one, or their reading comprehension is not really what you expected them to have, then they go back. They go back to it. So they have to really grasp whatever they are reading before they can proceed to the next reading book or reading paper.
All right. Thank you, Angela. So that's a great way to make use of the quests and even the boss battles to assess our students. So since we're on the topic of assessments, do you think using those features on ClassCraft and maybe even explain everything, would those be more appropriate towards formative assessments, or can we use them also for summative? What are your thoughts on that one?
Actually, based on my experience, I would always use ClassCraft and explain everything for formative assessment. It works better in formative assessment, but that doesn't mean that we won't we put it aside for using it for summative assessment. But it's on my end. It's very useful for formative assessment, just for us to check up on our students if they really get it.
All right. I have a question myself here. For ClassCraft and Explain Everything, what grade levels or ages would you recommend this for? Like, because you mentioned earlier you teach middle school, so around the higher levels already. What about for the younger students? Will they also be able to benefit from this? Can they also use this, or is this a little more technical or difficult for them still?
Actually, ClassCraft can also be used in the lower levels, but there's gonna be a twist. You don't let them sign in, so there's gonna be some features that you won't really be using, because of course they won't be signing. It's like you're doing ClassCraft as a whole class. You're presenting it. It's like let's say, for example, let's say grade one. Okay, I have here, we have classcraft here. So you have your characters and all. If everyone were able to, let's say, put their lunch box in the proper places, you get to set up your own character later after break, or during the break. So that's another way around of using it. It's just that if you're going to be using it to lower levels, you won't really be using all the features because it might be a little bit complicated for them, especially with all the powers, with all the icons and all features. So
Yeah.
they might get confused. Most likely this can be used for, let's say, grade 5 and up. Grade 5 can already work on this one.
Okay, so it's best suited towards those ages, like grade 5 and up. Although that we're not saying that younger students cannot use it. From what I've gathered from your answer, younger students can still be able to use it, but it's more of the teacher managing everything. So it's a little more extra work for our teachers if they want to also use it in our lower class, our lower grades. Okay, going back actually to a question about the subjects, because I noticed a lot of our teachers, a lot of our audience members asked about the use of ClassCraft for different subjects. What about for Explain Everything? Because it seems that Explain Everything is usually used towards math especially, and science. But how about for subjects like, let's say, English or social studies, PE, like the ones that our audience members mentioned earlier? Can it also be used for those particular subjects?
Yes, it actually, it's all up to how you're going to um, use the features based on your subjects. Let's say, for example, PE. Of course, it's PE, so you're supposed to do physical activities. But then again, before you do physical activities in PE, you have to let your students know first the steps. So maybe you can use explain everything. All right, what are the steps? So as a group, you try to fill out what are the steps, and then not only that they're going to write. So there's a little bit more extra activity on it, like you draw. What should you do? How should you, let's say, toss the ball? How should you do the I don't know what exercise that is. So it's actually up to you. That's for example for PE. Another one, let's say Araling Panlipunan. As a group, so there's a history. Let's say, they use explain everything to really explain what happened or like share their ideas. That will actually also save time on your end as a teacher because they are already collaborating, and then after that you can already see what they are doing. What else? What are the subjects that was mentioned? Social
English language
English,
class. Yes.
English language. In explain everything, there's the students are possible to add an they can add an audio, so that I think that will work for language. And then for reading, if you're going to share a template, let's say you already have a book or like an article, a short story embedded on the explain everything, and then they can annotate on it. They can, let's say, write or answer a question based on the readings and all. So it's actually up to you.
It's really up to the teacher's creativity and how they're going to make use and maximize that particular tool. All right, so since we're not actually getting any more questions coming in, I think we can finish up with this one particular question. What advice or tips would you give for teachers who are considering exploring the use of Explain Everything and ClassCraft for their classes?
Well, when I'm trying explain everything in ClassCraft, first before I'm I you it would be better if you try it first in a very simple activity. For explain everything, you try using it in a very simple activity. It can be an activity that's not let's say it's not really graded at all, just an extra activity for the students to do, and then you try to check if did the students get it, or are there some questions from the students and all. So from there you really gain you will be able to see if how you're going to use it the next time around you're going to be using explain everything to your class. And from there also you will see if is explain everything the best tool for them, because again we're just exploring a lot of tools. There's explain everything, there's classcraft, but we cannot deny the fact that that might not work to some students. So that's where we, as a teacher, we really try to explore. It's more of like a trial and error. If it works, then good. I'll be using this in my class. If it doesn't work, maybe I have to look for another tool and all. But then again, it's better to try not rather than not to try at all. So same thing with classcraft. You can try it muna, see if it's gonna work, if they're gonna love it and all. And if it works, then you can use it.
That's very good advice. So just try it out. We don't, like I always say, we don't always start out as experts, right? We don't start out knowing everything about it or how to exactly do everything with it. But the more we try it, the more we get used to it, the better we're able to really use it and maximize it. So for those of our viewers right now, those of our teachers who are interested in trying out these apps, go for it, right? Like what Angela said, it's better to try it than to not try it at all and never be able to find out if your students would like it or how they're going to respond to it. All right, so thank you so much, Angela, for taking the time to answer our questions about these applications and how we can engage our students through gamification. So we'll be ending our open forum here, but if our viewers do have any further questions, you can still forward them to us at Tagpros Education on our Facebook page. So just send us a message or just post a comment in the comment section, and we will try our best to give you the answers that you speak from our guest speakers. So we can contact Angela and ask her for clarification regarding those questions that you may still have if you're not able to think of them right now and then it just suddenly pops into your head later on. All right, so make sure to tell us also your thoughts about today's webinar workshop in our evaluation form. So we'll be posting the evaluation form link in the comment section, and we'll also be flashing it here on our screen in a moment. So the link is going to bring you to our evaluation form, which again, you will need to answer in order for you to be able to claim your e-certificate for this webinar workshop. Again, even if you attended this, even if you registered for our session today, if you're not able to fill up and complete the evaluation survey, we unfortunately will not be able to provide you with your e-certificate. So take some time right now to access that link. It's right there and in the comment section as well. Fill it up. You do have until Friday next week at 11:59 p.m. So if you're not able to access it right now, if you're on limited data right now, or you're outside listening to us right now while you're traveling, you still have a week to answer it. Just make sure that you answer it as soon as you can so that you don't forget and you don't miss out on the opportunity to get that e-certificate for today. All right, so we'll end our session here today. This is the end for today's webinar workshop. And our live webinar workshops will be back on December 18 with a special episode. We'll be telling you more about that surprise that we have in store for you in the upcoming days. So stay tuned. Don't forget to regularly check out and check back on our Tagpros Facebook page because that's where we make all our announcements. So if you don't want to miss out on this event, on the surprise that we have in store for you, please make sure that you follow and that you stay tuned over there on our Facebook page. As I mentioned before, we also just released a new episode of Tiny Thoughts just last week and launched our In the Spotlight video series as well. So don't forget to also check them out. They're under the videos tab of the Tagpros Facebook page. As always, keep updated with Tagpros Education by following as well our official social media pages. We have YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn. So if you have those accounts, please make sure that you follow us there as well so that you can stay up to date with us. And make sure also to invite your family and friends as well. If you have teacher friends, if you have colleagues that you want to be a part of this as well, please make sure to let them know. Okay, again, I am Selena Saris, your host for today's webinar workshop and our webinar series. Thank you so much for joining us this wonderful afternoon. And I hope that you have a great rest of the day. And I hope that you are able to make use of what you've learned today in your classes. Thank you so much, everybody.
As we transition to the new normal, we have left others behind. We need to reimagine and redesign our educational system. With the collective effort of schools, sponsors, and Tagpros learning management system, and core of passionate teachers, we can deliver free education and champion the cause of our students. Together, we would be able to teach, inspire, and serve, because Tagpros believes that education is a right all children deserve.